my new gold chain is in transit, but UPS suspended operations. So that's tough.
It's tragic.
That's tough.
You're just out there throwing tomatoes at the striking workers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. The thing that I don't really get is like, so Canada Post is striking, but from my understanding is they're basically just like, yeah, Canada Post like will never be profitable, and they're like screwed. It's like, what are the workers like? You're striking, like it sounds like you're shouldn't even exist in the first place. Like what? I don't know. It feels like it's.
I,
I
I
don't.
feel
Can
like
we
this is a
just?
problem with unions, and like I don't want to go on a rant, but I think like if people, that's the one thing that like tech companies get right is they give equity to the employees,
Yeah,
so it's like the incentives are aligned, and it's like when you don't have those incentives aligned, it's like a union is just there to get more money for their members. They don't even care about the business
yeah.
at all.
I know. It's just like, can like Amazon just replace Canada Post? Because like, no, none of my other packages are coming, but then I like order something from Amazon. It comes in like 4 hours. You're just like, yeah, let's just do this. Like,
Yeah, like I always want to support small businesses, but it's like you have to account. This is going to take 2 weeks to get here.
oh, I know. I
It'll
ordered a
take
new
whatever or
rug
something.
from Etsy because like I wanted to get something kind of unique, and so I found just like someone who's just like a local producer of rugs or whatever. Just like they don't have a business or anything, and yeah, it's like there's such a good chance I'll just like never get it, or like it'll come in like March or something like that.
Well, I'm sure it'll be nice once you get it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I always it's like when you talk to union people, like my sister works for some, and it's like a cult. Like you cannot talk sense. It's like there's no room for discussion of like maybe there's like a different interpretation of this scenario. It's like no, they're evil. We are
I
like
know
it doesn't matter
they
how
think
well
they're like,
paid or how treated they
what's the
are. It's like
term,
we
like
are the victim.
I know like serfs and like whatever the
Like
uh
class warfare.
yeah, class warfare. You just like I don't I think you when you have mobility, you can work anywhere. It's like I don't know. There's probably some places like a union's probably good for like underwater welding or some shit. I don't know, like where you actually have risks. But if you're just like I don't know, a mailman.
Well, I think the whole thing is like when you are like in an industrialized nation or the start of industrialization when people were just like you can replace this worker like a cog. It's just like
Yeah,
mining and
yeah, yeah.
like what do they call it? Like on the belt line or whatever when they're just like hacking a box or something. Obviously then unions make tons of sense, but then we move into like the knowledge based world and it doesn't make sense anymore. It's like you can't replace one worker with another worker and get the exact same performance because it's so
Oh yeah. I remember like I don't really like the guy that much, but like the Dave Portnoy, the Barstool guy, I think I can't even remember what it was, but someone I think Barstool, which like I think they just employ like bloggers and podcasters and stuff. They were like talking about a union, and he said it was like the dumbest idea ever, and there should be no union. And then there was like tons of blowback. I was like, yeah, I don't think a fucking like remote blogger needs like a union as they work from like their couch anywhere in the world to write like a blog. Like if you're good as a blogger, you're obviously gonna have
well, a lot of what goes into blogging too is your ability to promote. So it's like not everyone's going to promote
oh
their content
totally.
and get eyeballs in the exact same way.
It's ridiculous to
And it,
think bloggers need a union. But yeah, I just remember he was like, yeah, it became like a national story. He was like on the news and stuff, like talking about unions. I was like, all right, we could probably. I don't know. Some people just take it so serious, though. They're like, but it's what, you know, if there's no union at Barstool, then there's no union in the coal mines. I was like, okay, like, just relax. I think it's a little different.
yeah, I feel like information age white collar workers have lost the plot of it.
Yeah, it's like I sometimes just think through like sometimes I'm like, oh man, my job sucks. Like it's hard. Then I just like think through just like being a waiter and just like 8 hours like walking. Like actually not even walking. Like if I just had to stand for 8 hours, like that would be let alone like walking
You have to
around.
work up to that.
Dude, like let alone walking around like carrying plates, like interacting with people would be so exhausting. And they just like do it for like 1/50th what like a corporate worker makes. And then the corporate
I
workers like,
remember
we need a union.
I remember like I work retail and it was like one of the things where I'm definitely like the workers need to unite on this is like how some places won't let you sit. So it's like you'll have a cashier and they can't even like use those leaning chairs. They
That's
want them to
wild.
stand in one spot for 8 hours. Is like, are you guys insane? Like this doesn't, first of all, this doesn't even improve your service. It's like
It
this,
probably
like,
makes it much worse.
yeah, like they're tired and their feet hurt and like you can't move. So it's like standing in one spot is like 10 times worse than walking and moving.
Oh, totally. It makes me think when we were in the wedding party for my brother, and like both of us, like it was probably like 30 minutes, and we're just like, oh, so close to passing out. It's like 30 minutes. Meanwhile,
Just standing in one spot.
people just do it for like 8 hours, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, my job sucks. I showed up at 9:30, got a coffee for like the first hour, and
To scroll email.
yeah, no, and you're just like coordinating meetings. You're like, I need a union.
Yeah. No, it's the main problem I think is just like if the incentives are aligned, it would work, but it doesn't work. And so it's like everyone should be owners and then you are working towards the same thing and also benefiting when the company like this idea that you should like benefit when the company's like about to go bankrupt
Oh yeah,
is kind of confusing. And I would rather just be able to get another job rather than be stick at one place for 30 years and then you can never leave. Like I don't think the people actually like it either because if you go to a union place, they all hate each other because it
yeah.
like incentivizes like politics, like internal politics, and the A players can't get recognized or promoted above anyone else. It'll be like seniority based, and then you'll have like some really good person who's new to the field or like only been there a couple years, and then someone comes back from like stress leave after they've got like 12 years seniority or just like completely toxic employees
Oh
and they'll
yeah.
get the job because of just
What's so funny? It makes me. You're talking about like eight players and stuff. So my company had a Christmas party this week, and then in the day we had this like big team building day. I don't know, whatever. It was like the CEO talking and stuff, and then we had this external company come in, and they did like a team building activity. So, like, long story short, is basically you got like broken into teams of four, and you were given a certain amount of supplies of like a certain type, and all the other groups had different types of supplies, and like you had to work together to whatever build products and then sell them, and then like you got money, and it was like whoever had the most money at the end won. And basically the idea is like we're supposed to like collaborate because you couldn't do it without working with some of the other groups, and like you had to think ahead and strategize and stuff, whatever. Anyways, there was one group that had, it was of four people, and two of the four were like new joiners who just joined like literally 2 days before. So it was like their third day on the job. And like, so at the end, we're totaling the scores. And that group with like new joiners, they absolutely murdered every other group, set like the record, they said, of like this game that's ever been played. And it's just so funny. It's like, we haven't had a chance to like ruin their brain with bureaucracy and stuff. So they just like worked so much faster and smarter than like everyone else. Meanwhile, the rest of us were like, we should probably get approvals before we do anything. I'm like, so it's so funny. Just like the people who did not know our culture did so much better than everyone else. And it was just like so clearly a sign that like we ruin people.
I would love to just hear the cope too of like the higher ups trying to explain it to
Oh yeah.
themselves because you know they everyone saw it, but then they probably have like to reconcile their cognitive dissonance. They probably have some like cope that's just like absolutely hilarious.
I imagine they're, excuse me, I imagine they're just like, this is proof that our recruiting team does a great job hiring people or something. like,
That's probably exactly it.
yeah, it's like we are,
Future's bright.
yeah, exactly. Like, things are looking up around here, and like, I'll still never forget that. Like, it happened this summer. So like my company is like very bureaucratic and like slow and stuff. And like there was a false fire alarm in my building, and like so our whole floor, like there's a fire alarm blaring. So we're just like, you kind of assume it's a false alarm, but like you don't really know.
Yeah.
So we all just kind of like are standing there, and then we're like, well, like what should we do? And then like it just kind of like looked around and like, oh well, we have a designated fire marshal. Like they need to tell us before we can go down. And like the dedicated fire marshal is just this like, I don't know, like she's like a secretary who's just like not like whatever. like
She was off for the day.
yeah, like and she was like she was in the office, but like I don't even think she knew she was the fire marshal. And then so so we just literally stood around for like 25 minutes as the alarm's just blaring. And we're just like, yeah, it's probably a false alarm, but like we can't go until the fire marshal tells us. And then like so eventually the fire alarm stops like 25 minutes later. And I think it was like around lunch or something. So like me and a few others were like, oh, let's just like go down now. And we go down and like the entire building, and this is like a 50-story office tower. The entire building evacuated and they're all down. We were like literally the only floor that just stood around like waiting. It was like if this was an actual fire, every other floor would have been fine and we would have just burned alive because we're like the fire marshal needs to tell us. Like I could be like fucking there's flames on the floor like getting burned alive, like I can't move until the fire marshal tells me. So yeah, anyways, like once we indoctrinate the new hires with this mindset, then like we'll probably play that same team building exercise next year and they'll like score like 1/10 of what they had.
That's funny. Yeah, my company got a new CEO this week, and
Oh yeah.
they were introducing him on the finance call. So like they do a call with the bank analysts or financial analysts or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, like equity research analyst or
Yeah,
whatever.
but it wasn't a video call. So it was just like a call and it shows just screen. So he wasn't on camera.
Yeah.
And so we're watching this and we had no idea we were getting a new CEO. So they introduced this CEO and it's just a picture, like, and it looks like a stock photo. And then this guy's talking and it sounds like an AI agent. I'm not kidding. Like it sounds robotic. And like all I could think is like this, like it seemed like we got replaced the CEO with an AI agent. And then people were just like so confused because it was like kind of unexpected. I guess this CEO got shot or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
fine.
That was an awesome story. I mean, I guess not awesome for the guy, but like just like a hitman killing. Is
It
that
was like
that
GTA 6 in real life.
it was like a CEO of a pharma company, was it? I don't even know.
Insurance company.
I mean, honestly, is that a loss? I mean, I feel like insurance companies are just rotten.
I mean, it's definitely not a probably promoting murder is not great, but it wasn't like a terrible. I don't know.
I mean, like
It
if
was a good meme.
yeah, if the CEO of like I don't know what's a company I like Chipotle died, I'd be upset. Like it's like just like some big insurance guy. Yeah, that's wild. I wonder what he. I got to imagine they were like insuring the cartel or something. I don't know because that seems weird to, or like they wouldn't
Well,
insure the cartel or
I
something.
don't know. I feel like we might enter like an era of like mentally unstable people targeting
Oh, you
CEOs
just think it
instead of school
was?
children.
Oh yeah, maybe yeah. I guess yeah, maybe it was some guy who like didn't get coverage or something, and he got like financially ruined. So then he just shot the
But like,
CEO or something.
yeah, but what I understand is kind of strange to me is if you don't get coverage, you can just not pay, and like they can't really enforce medical.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
Like it's a very weird system. But going back to unions too, I was reading too how the one like these insurance companies have like the worst PR too because they'll be like, we're not covering this anesthesia claims beyond a certain amount, and essentially they're saying the union of the surgeon or anesthesiologist is inflating the hourly rates to a point beyond like what's reasonable, and they're saying
Yeah,
we're going to cap it at what we cover, which is like kind of not great in either way, but just the way it gets presented, they're just like so bad at presenting it. It just comes across as like we're just going to like cut off your anesthesia halfway through your surgery. It's like you
yeah,
guys really are terrible at this.
yeah, yeah. That's I don't know. Like I imagine there's just some companies where it just feels like it's just like a rotten industry, like insurance, pharma. I don't know.
All that stuff that I don't know, not to go too crypto, bro, but it's like the insurance industry. If you with like the decentralized finance aspect of it, seems like it would be just a million times better in the sense that like the insurance industry is just like a black box of whether you get claims or not. Like I know, like at the racetrack I go to for like karting,
Yeah.
they will just create a new like disclaimer term or whatever every year. It's like they just go and visit and add some new little rule that you have to follow, right? If you don't get it, you don't get covered. And it's
Yeah.
just like
I wonder if
every
it's
year
like
they
that.
add
Yeah.
something else.
I wonder if it's like that in the US or if that's just a Canada thing where it's like you're not allowed to innovate here.
Well, I think the insurance is even worse here because remember, like even with like getting boating, like insurance for
Oh
like
yeah.
trailers and stuff for a business. Like my brother wanted to rent out trailers, and he would talk to insurance people here, and they like don't even know what he's talking about. And then they'll ask him like 100 questions about like they'll call back. So it's like they'll have a thing and it'll be like, okay, this is I'll send the agreement, but then they'll call like an hour later and be like, what about this scenario? And then it's like you can tell they're making it up on the fly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
these insurance adjusters are just making it up as they go. Versus when he talks to people in the States, they're like, yeah, you just call and they know what you're doing and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just send you a policy. But it's I guess maybe not enough people try it here, but there's so much friction. And my brother's like was pretty motivated about it, but I don't even know if he got it because he said the insurance even that they would quote you, it was super confusing to understand because they wouldn't guarantee like he just is like you would ask a question like a straightforward question like will this be covered in this scenario where someone is renting the trailer and
Yeah.
crashes their vehicle with the trailer and they won't answer it directly. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Whereas like with like the decentralized finance thing, it's like it should just be like you meet these criteria, you get insurance for this amount,
Yeah.
right? Like it's kind of like getting loans. Like getting a loan is like so there's so much bias. It's like you basically are whoever you're talking to, you have to convince them.
Yeah, just
Like
like
I don't know if I
arbitrary
told you that one
rules.
time when I was went to Europe and I was swapping currency at the bank and this like small business owner comes in and he was just like arguing with them and he was like very calm at first and you could see him getting continually worked up because he essentially was just trying to get a loan that was already agreed to for his business. It was like 50 grand loan or something. I don't know what it was, but it sounded like kind of like a not huge amount.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then they were just arguing with him, oh, we can't do that right now. And then they were delaying him, like, oh, we're gonna we have to get like again like the bureaucracy. We have to get these approvals and double check this. And he was like, I've been doing this for like 2 months trying to get you to give me a yes or no answer. I just need to know yes or no in this scenario. Will I get the loan? Otherwise, I'll go put my efforts elsewhere to get a loan because I need it for my business or it's going to collapse. And they're basically just like, sorry, like we'll tell you in like a couple weeks after the head office gets back to us.
Well,
It's
TD
just it's the most aggravating thing ever.
TD Bank, they like to give their loans out to human traffickers and money launderers, and yeah, I'm assuming you saw
That
that
was wild.
story.
Yeah, no, that was wild. That even was like it seemed like the Americans were even shocked by that one. Which
Oh,
if you
well, what
shock the
was
Americans, it's
yeah?
bad.
What's hilarious is like it was the SEC who caught them, like a Toronto headquartered bank. Like if it wasn't for the SEC, we probably never would have got caught. Like Canada would just be like, oh, la di da, like who cares? Like we have the safest banks in the world. Meanwhile, it's just like like people at I think they said like employees at TD Bank were just taking bribes to like facilitate money laundering. So like it wasn't some like crazy like hoodwinked by like some brilliant cartel or something like that. It was just like they were bribing employees. Um, but yeah, like I'm sure I don't know. It's probably if I had to guess, probably the Canadian banks are just like doing that shit all the time because they are like there's like no retribution in Canada because like there's no competition, there's no anything, and like we have this like weird pride in like our five banks that are like so secure. And like I think as long as they have like a lot of deposits and like meet the criteria so they're not going to go bankrupt, they probably like there's probably like zero regulation.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Will Simple hasn't like had some scandal of like in the way that they seem like they're actually taking a fair bit of business away from like the main banks.
Oh, I'm
And you would think just lobbying
surprised.
wise,
Yeah.
like I'm surprised they haven't run into stuff.
I know that Neo Financial, which I don't even know fully what it does, but I know it's like they've raised a bunch of money and I think they do some sort of like credit card stuff. I don't know. But I know they've dealt with um like lobbying and stuff from the banks and saying that like they're unsafe or whatever. So um I don't know. It's just so funny that like Canada is just like we take care of the little guy. Meanwhile, we just have like five banks who just like if there's like any sort of competition, they just like get crushed immediately, and like there's just like so much dirty tactics. And I've heard that about the airline industry as well. And maybe that's more common, but like I know in Canada, like I saw Air Canada is now also charging for carry on. So you're just like,
Yeah, I refuse to fly Flare. I'm so mad at them. At least I will until I need to fly them. But um, yeah, flying down to Phoenix at one time, and they were like they were nitpicking my carry-on, my personal bag. I guess because I didn't buy a carry-on for that one.
yeah,
It was literally sticking out of the bin by an inch,
yeah,
and they're like, nope.
yeah. No, I
And
mean,
then I got so mad, I was like just stuff in my pockets and jabbed it in there because I was like, there's no way. It's just out of principle that I'm paying for this, but
I
it
honestly
was so weird.
what I don't understand is like the workers at the airlines. Like sometimes you like they're so like combative. Like it's like why do you care about like
Maybe they gave them equity. They
like
asked
I
my
like
whole thing, but backfired on me.
yeah, I guess I don't know, but like I don't get it. Like I feel like if I worked for WestJet or something, I wouldn't be like trying to fight the passengers that they're like luggage, which clearly would fit, but like you could argue that it doesn't fit. Is like why are you? And the thing that drives me nuts is like they're like so strict on shit like that, but then when people are like boarding not in their zone or like crowding the gate, they're just like so laissez-faire. And it's like, no, be strict on this stuff. Like don't like nitpick on like the shit that doesn't matter. And it's like the whole process is just so chaotic because they're like fighting and like combative on the stuff they shouldn't be and then just like pushovers on the stuff they should be. And you're just like, what is going on?
Well, that's like Porter does gets that right. Like I flew Porter recently for the first time, and
Yeah.
they actually are like you can tell they're run really well.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
they'll fall apart, but it's just like they did boarding by seat number, so there's no zones because everyone's always like, "What zone am I in?" And oh, like are there zone? And they'll do like multiple zones together sometimes at the end. But they were just like, if you're in seats like 10 to 22,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
now board, and they won't let you check in if you're in a different seat. They just say, "Okay, just wait till." Like, it's very clear. Like there's no getting around. Like, oh, I'm not seat 22, or as if it's like zone 4. It's like, oh, it's zone 3. Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, no,
And it,
I do find Porter better. The only thing is I find their planes are slow. I don't know if you noticed that because I think they
oh,
just
really?
yeah, like sometimes because I think their planes are just like smaller, right? So they probably just like don't have as big of engines. Like I don't think it's
That
always
actually
slower, but sometimes I find it like the flight takes like forever.
that actually makes sense because I was like,
Did
this
it
flight
feel
feels
like
like
it
it's
took
taking forever.
forever?
It felt like it took forever, but I was
I
never occurred to
know.
me that planes flew at different speeds. I just assumed they all flew at the same
So
speed.
like I could be nuts, but like some sometimes when I fly Porter, I'm like, I swear this is like the longest flight of my life. And I do know, like when because they now fly from Toronto to Arizona, and I was looking, and they said that the flight from Toronto to Arizona was like 6 hours, and if I looked on Air Canada, it was like 4 hours and 45 minutes. So, but then on the way back, it like was the same time. So I don't know. Maybe like sometimes they just have certain planes that are slower. I don't know. But yeah, like I've done some flights with them, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, am I flying to like Africa or like halfway around the world? Because it just feels like it takes so long.
Yeah, but they were good at like I guess it's like, do you want to like sit on the tarmac and wait? And like the total flight
Yeah,
time's probably the same. It's just, but yeah, I didn't. It did feel slow to me, but it didn't occur to me that they flew. I literally didn't even think planes flew. I just
I know I could be crazy, but
it's obvious in hindsight.
yeah, I think that's I like it would make sense that like some planes just have smaller engines, like it's like cars. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah,
So yeah, what
there's.
I guess in
So we
terms
should
of
talk about actual stuff.
yeah, in terms of last week, was there anything that you worked on that you want to go over?
Yeah, so I was trying, so I got DaVinci Resolve, the studio version. So DaVinci has the free version, which I'd been using, but to get the extra features like the pixelating magic mask tracker. And I think that you can do subtitles, which I haven't tried yet. So I purchased it, and then I don't know if it was caused by DaVinci or if it was caused by something else, but my computer started like glitching. I was using my work computer because it had more like memory. It's like a MacBook Pro. Um, which then I think might have corrupted one of my files that I was working on all week. So it was like yesterday, I was trying to, it just like, I think it's like the GPU or something was like showing like pink screens sometimes and just being like really glitchy.
Yeah.
And so I had this stuff I was going to finish up Friday, and the team is like waiting on it. And then I couldn't use the file. And I'm really hoping it seemed to be working again last night, but I think I'm going to have to work this weekend and get that shipped out. So that was fun. But the problem was the editing was like I had to close the program a bunch of times, reopen it. So that's super frustrating. I might try it on my other computer, see how that goes. But this editing is like kicking my ass pretty hard, and it doesn't seem that hard. It's like this is the most basic stuff of just like, why am I struggling? Am I like a boomer now where I can't do video editing? So right now I'm spending like 5 hours on a video. So that's going to get down. Hopefully, I can understand the software better, but it's just like the glitches are just like repeatedly closing the program,
Yeah.
just super laggy stuff like that. So um yeah, we'll see. I'll try. I'm gonna hopefully figure it out over this next week. If it doesn't, I'm gonna have to figure something out. I don't know. It shouldn't be this hard.
Yeah. Interesting. No, that's good. Like I said, I only use Premiere, so like I don't know what the like I've never had glitching issues, but I've never tried to like blur faces or anything.
How big are do you know how big the files are? Because like mine, when I exported that last one that I uploaded to the drive, you probably didn't see it. I tried emailing it. It was too big, but it was like 2 gigs. And that was like a 1080p resolution video. Like I can downgrade that to like a 720,
Yeah.
which is probably fine for what we're using it for, to save a lot of space. But still, I thought it was odd that
So
files are so big.
when I exported episode 2, when I helped out with the audio, it was 298 is it megabytes MB?
Yeah, that was the one that I sent you. So that one I already downgraded to a lower, like 720 or something. So maybe I just need to export it again, um, at a lower resolution. But it is something that, yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that's really annoying.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure. There's probably a setting that I'm including, but I've tried to remove any extra audio tracks or things like that. So
Yeah, interesting. No, that's fair. I mean, I don't know, like the editing. I don't know. Do you think like we should try and do the same editing, or do you think there's like some value that like I edit on Premiere and then like I don't know. I guess I imagine we probably want consistency, so maybe it would be good if I got the same one as you, so then like we can share the work when it comes to actually getting like the podcast up, and then we can easily make it the same.
yeah, so I think I can get a refund on mine for 30 days. So if I can't, I'm going to try it on the different computer and try some things. If it doesn't, I'm just going to have to switch because I can't
Yeah.
use it. But then Final Cut was also giving me problems. So I'm assuming it's something with one
There's
episode
one
setting I've
common
got.
denominator.
Yeah, it's just
The
like
user.
this
But,
can't be me. Multiple computers,
you
different
just keep
programs.
trying new softwares.
It's like
This software,
that boomer.
this sucks. This one sucks too.
It's like that boomer meme where like it's like you have to go help like your grandpa with why their computer's not working. It just shows them like dragging my computer to the trash can and just like deleting everything. Um,
Um, yeah,
so the one thing you could do is you could try downloading the free version of DaVinci because it'll do most of the stuff, and just play around with it and see
sure.
if you like it or don't like it, because that could even like save money that you don't have to pay your subscription. Because when I was using the free version, it was totally fine. So that's what
Interesting.
made me wonder if maybe it's just a coincidence that it happened at the same time and it's not actually that software.
And sorry, is DaVinci
Um,
like what's the company that makes it?
Black Magic or something, or Black Magic Design. If you just search DaVinci Resolve, it'll should pop up. It's like quite popular. But yeah, so that they have a free version and a studio version. So you'll want DaVinci Resolve 19, the
Okay.
free one. And then I think they might ask you for like personal info, but you can just, I think you can just skip it at the bottom left. I think there's an option to skip it or just enter fake info. Um, But yeah, I actually really liked it as a program because you can just go to YouTube and there's so many people have made video clips that are like 2 minutes long. It'll be like just quickly how to do some very specific task.
Yeah.
So you can learn how to use it as you're going pretty quickly without like having to go through like a 30-minute tutorial video.
Nice. Nice. And I would say, I mean, this is kind of changing the topic, but I guess one thing we changed is we're meeting on Google Meet now, which I think seems a lot better than Zoom. We don't have to deal with the 40-minute time constraint, and like it seems like it has some. I don't know. There seems to be no downsides from Zoom, and then we just don't have that time limit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It looks actually way better. It's got just seems smoother. Like the UI is better. It's got captions we can throw on if we want.
Yeah.
I'm not even using the app. Are you using the app or just in browser?
No, just browser.
Yeah, me too. So no, I'm impressed with it so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing was I told you I got Midjourney.
Yeah.
So Midjourney is that AI generation tool. It's kind of the big the main player for that. And a lot of artists and designers are using it to try. So I think Pentagram actually used it for designing some brand assets for one of their clients, and they had a big thing on it. It was they used it to essentially generate a lot of like patterns and things like that. There's definitely a technique to it. I'm getting a little bit better at it. I would say I haven't found anything that I really like, but I'm curious. Maybe I'll share my screen here and just see what you think about these concepts. Okay, so should show the screen, but yeah, so came across this one image, and I actually thought the aesthetic was kind of cool.
Spooky.
But basically what I was started to go for. So originally background, I was going for more of a like the mascots, like not quite ready, being like, oh, maybe they're like trying to cook something and it's burning and it's not quite ready, that sort of thing, very literal.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't get it to go how I wanted. Like the characters felt very Pixar almost and very generic and hard to recreate in a specific style. And the prompts were hard to get with the characters.
Yeah.
So I'm finding the prompts are easier to recreate if you're doing things like landscapes or backgrounds. I started playing around with just like some characters again. It was kind of like trying to be just kind of weird and quirky.
Yeah.
But again, I was struggling to get the prompts to actually do what I wanted. So I kept playing with that, gave up on that, and I came across that image that I showed, and it kind of got me thinking about the like climbing a mountain or something like that. So like not quite ready, and that it's like there's like a challenge or something that your journey you're going on and you're not quite ready for it, and then so it's kind of ominous but also like there's curiosity or something, I guess you could say, to it.
Yeah.
And the floating iceberg rock was based on this image that I showed you here. And I did kind of like that, but I'm still playing with it. But I'm curious what you think of, again, that sort of adventure perspective of things. Where I was struggling was, let me go to. So I ended up trying some comic book ones, or like graphic novel 80s style. And these actually were kind of a little bit easier, but they were kind of serious, right? But this one I thought was kind of a cool vibe. You got like looking up at like some mysterious
Mordor
thing at the top of a mountain. The problem I had with this is I don't know if this is the aesthetic. I'm curious what you think of this. I was trying to come up with something that was a little more playful, I guess, and not serious. So versus these, I kept coming into these aesthetics that are a little bit more like they're cool, but they're definitely not playful in any way. So
I guess my question is like, what kind of use are you envisioning for these? Like, is this like, how would we use these images?
So I'm thinking we need a cover image or something for the podcast. So we could just use text. So if we do that, I was thinking we could just generate some kind of background. I also wanted to take a sort of a theme, and then try playing with see if this will work. So there's one called Runway where you can Luma Labs where you can turn things into like little mini video clips based on like an image you've already generated. So I've seen some people do that. Um, Part of it is also just trying to explore and play around and see what I can come up with. But I was trying to find something that could fit with the branding so we could use it. Maybe we generate screens for like the template screen on the podcast, like we put the videos over, um, or a title screen, or just things like that, like just general branding things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, like, if we had a title screen, the idea of like climbing a mountain or something, and that's where I was initially started with like mascots. But I didn't really have anything that I thought was hitting. So maybe it's a failed experiment and we can abandon it. But that's
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I
where I was
think
going with it.
like there's definitely cool imagery with it. My thought is probably that like it might be a bit serious. Like it gives me a little bit of like the I don't know, like Gary V like climbing this mountain is so hard, kind of like super intense.
Yeah.
So that would be my first thought, if I'm being honest. Like it just seems like there's probably something in the middle. Like if I'm just looking at the screen right now, like the 2 days ago versus December 4th are like opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of like playfulness and seriousness.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I mean, this sounds like very lame, but just like finding the middle ground almost between them, I think kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess my thinking kind of is like I don't know, I'm just trying to think back to like our mood boards. If we're gonna have like I think this would be awesome if we're say we're like posting clips or something like that and we want a new image each time we post, then like this makes a lot of sense. We can kind of run with a theme, and then it's not so like important. Like you if one is a little bit more serious, then like who cares? Like you're gonna be posting a new one shortly anyways. I guess my thought is like if we're doing something like even like a cover image or whatever that's going to be like consistent across like all our channels is like in a sense kind of like our logo, that just thinking back to like the mood boards with like we had that like Tony Hawk Pro Skater or like those Nike images or something like just maybe a little bit more direct in terms of like we have whatever, like there's the words not quite ready on it, and like I don't know if I'm making sense, but like having it more of like a logo rather than an image, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a lot simpler. How are you feeling about the mask, like using some sort of mascots or and images? Just like
I think that's fun. I'm definitely not
I just don't
opposed
know
to
what
it.
they would be. Like I guess I'm kind of that's where I'm a little stuck. Is like what would the mascots be of? Like what's the theme of the mascots? Or
Yeah.
are they just like represented like abstract representations of two characters, right?
Yeah. I probably have to think about it a little bit more. It's making me think of like, I'm forgetting the name. Like, what's the Bobby Hundreds clothing brand
The
called?
bomb or
The
whatever.
Bomb,
Is it
yeah. I can't remember what the brand's called, but they have their logo like Atom Bomb, where it's like just this bomb. So like, and it's sort of like the mascot. So I almost think of it like that. Like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's think about that maybe a bit because I've been kind of using this as a brainstorming tool. So, like, trying out, like, hey, what about this? Or I see
Yeah.
an image I like and try to spin off that. So, I don't think anything that I've got so far is usable, but just trying to explore concepts. So, if you come up with something where, like, hey, what about this type of imagery or theme, then I can just text it to me and I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's about it there.
Yeah, I would say on my side, the one thing I did do this week was I got the YouTube account set up. So it's probably not worth sharing my screen because it doesn't show anything. But like the name "Not Quite Ready" for a YouTube account was available, so I just created that. So we at least have that. So like I don't know. Do you want to like post what we have already, like the podcast episodes? Do you want to hold off? Like, what are you
Um,
thinking?
I'm thinking we hold off till the end of the month,
Sure.
or at least a couple more weeks till we get a backlog so that we can consistently release, say, every Friday or every Thursday or Monday or whatever day we decide on,
Yeah.
just once a week. I think we've got 3 ready to go, or there's one I have to touch up a bit, but I think we've got 4 in the bank. We'll have 5 with this one. Hopefully, I figure out the editing to get them through a little bit faster. But I just don't want to start posting until I've we've at least got a workflow where we can get an edit turned around in the same week, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, and I think we're close though. I think maybe we don't even have to. I mean, even if we'll probably take we'll probably slow down maybe over Christmas time, but I think if we just do a couple more weeks,
Yeah.
we should be good to start releasing.
Sounds good. And I was also thinking about this, like, I think, again, going with the theme of like not quite ready, like, I think we're getting better with like our podcasting and things like that. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to like trying to bring on a guest and do it like an interview style one, like, and we can make it very low stakes. Like, I'm thinking like one of our mutual friends who's like done something, like started some sort of business. And like, I know we went over a few people, but I don't know. Like, that's sort of my thought is like, because we've been, sorry.
No, I agree.
Yeah, because it's like, I guess this would be our 5th one where we're kind of just like talking, which is good. But like, I don't know, we might as well just try and mix in like a different style.
Yeah, no, it feels like we're starting to get a little bit of a flow here. So I think, yeah, we can start. And then as I'm seeing, it's actually way harder than even just like video editing. I can assume interviewing someone is a little trickier than it looks on the surface when you listen to a podcast. You're like, oh, it's so easy to just asking questions. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And I don't know. It just gives us like, I don't know. Again, I know we loosely talked about it, but like, if by the time we start approaching people to interview like that we don't know, it's like if we have like say 30 in the chamber with like 10 interviews, it's like we at least be like, like, look, we're not just like psychos who just like have never done this before, are weird. Well, I mean, we're weird, but
Weird in a good way, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
check out my LinkedIn posting.
yes, but Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. 10 things I learned from Stoicism. I don't know why.
I go LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just, I cannot understand the mindset over there, and it's just filled with people who are joining a network to presumably get a job and then doing all the things that would like make you not get hired, like just commenting crazy stuff on like some listicle article of like that's clearly clickbait.
Oh man, like sometimes I see the most intense things that are just like anti-Trump or like, I don't know. Oh, what did I say? I saw one where some guy was like, it was something weird. It was a Canadian dude, and he was just like, if you're not strongly against Trump's tariffs, feel free to remove yourself from my network. I have no time to engage with those who like aren't against the tariffs. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it was so weird. And it's just like, so now like you've probably just pissed off like 50% of people who like know you. And it's, yeah.
Even I don't know. I just feel like why, even if you don't like, even if you agree with his position, just that like approach is obnoxious.
It's so intense. Like, yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. But yeah, it is funny. I know we were texting about it earlier. Just like the things that like just inevitably get ruined by like dorks. Like even like stoicism philosophy. It's like, I'm sure there's like good stuff in there, but I'm like, I never want to like read any of it because of like the people who love it are just like the weirdest people, and they just latch on to like anything. And I know we were talking about like things like jujitsu. It's just been like ruined by like the dorks who, I don't know, just like try and, I don't know, make it mean more than it is, and that it's like their personality because they go once a week to like some place. And
You know, it's like they're middle-aged like IT workers who are
Oh
talking
yeah.
about being lions in the gym
Yeah,
and
which is
how it
like,
saved their lives.
oh, totally. Which is like, it's cool if you like jujitsu, but it's just like being like 10 rules that like you can apply to life from that I learned in jujitsu. And it's like, it's just some guy who's like never done any exercise in his life and has done jujitsu once a
Really,
week for 4 months.
they're probably doing like gi jujitsu and they're like three stripe white belts and just
Yeah, it's just like
like
battling like a child. Or, but yeah, like jujitsu, I found honestly, and this one kind of sucks, but like Air Forces and like Jordans and Dunks have kind of just been ruined by dorks too. Like the amount of guys I see who like have a suit on and then they're like, I'm not your typical office worker because they have like some Jordans on and it's just the most repulsive thing. It is hilarious how quickly like if you were a brand, like that's you basically have to do everything to like not have those type of guys like engage in your product.
it's like the ultimate like paradox though, because it's like on one hand you're it's like short like they're making short-term profit probably like crazy, but then you're destroying your brand at the same time and it's going to die if
Oh,
you
it's like
like
Patagonia. Like I've heard Patagonia's been like doing poorly recently, and they've had to lay off a bunch of people. And it's like once like finance guys and like tech guys got a hold of it, like it was just it was
yeah.
doomed.
No, it was just like VCs. That was like the VC costume was just like a Patagonia vest.
Oh man,
It's just
it's just
yeah.
I don't know like that, and then like jujitsu, like hiking. I'm sure is like that,
Rock
and
climbing, it happened too.
archery. I don't do those things, but I imagine they're probably just overrun by like I don't know. It's like whatever is like a low friction status symbol of like being like a rough guy, an adventurous guy. It's like like doing like rock climbing. You can be like, oh, I'm like just a wild man out in the culture, and it's like a super easy thing you can
I don't know what
do.
it says about me because I've done all of these things. And I
So-
used to do all of them, and then I just like stopped. So maybe I'm a hipster dork. I'm like the ones that are just leading the
yeah, I
pioneer
remember when you used
paving
to
paving the trail.
post on Twitter 10 life rules rock climbing taught me about stoicism and Marcus Aurelius. And yeah, but it is very funny that it's like moths to a light. It's just like, oh, Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman did this.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Rogan for quite a while, but it does seem like now anything he does is just like a ticking time bomb. It's like it's coming. As soon
Yeah.
as he says he likes something, it's like you've got probably 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and then probably another year before it's like toast after that, and it's just ruined.
What's hilarious too is just like you could probably make so much money if you just like listen to Rogan and then just like whatever he talked about like he was doing and then you just start making it like saunas like mobile tiny saunas were probably like not a thing like even like 2 years ago and now it's probably this massive industry just because he's like sauna then cold plunge like if you sold small saunas and cold plunge tubs they probably make like it's probably a massive industry now.
Well, there's so many cold plunges. They were people selling them. I think it's cooled off now, but like a year ago,
Yeah,
it was you could get cold plunge that were essentially just plastic
just
tubs.
like a
It's
garbage
just like
can.
a glorified like stock tank that is made out of plastic with a lid on it, and they were like $1,500 they were selling for.
Yeah, there's probably
It's
people
like
who are just killing it.
you can go to Princess Auto and get a stock tank for like $220.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like the exact same
crazy.
thing. It just doesn't have a logo on the side. It isn't like rounded in the same nice soft shapes
It
that
had a Marcus Aurelius
consumer brands
quote
are.
on the side. So it's worth 1,500.
Bluetooth speakers. But
Yeah. No, I know
yeah,
it.
the other crazy thing I've seen too is now with AI because they can train on voices.
Yeah.
This must be like for Rogan, it must be hard. But I think Huberman too. But people will make it with their voices of an ad promoting some product, and it's like it's so hard to tell because they'll clip it too. So it's like you can't really tell that it's not fully AI or like not a product if you're like not aware of
Yeah, like what
like if
he's
you're not
actually
paying
saying.
attention.
Just
Like, did you
gives
see
me
that
an
thing where there was like
idea.
something about like chewing on like a some like it was like a piece of rubber to like strengthen your jaw or something. Did you see that one?
No,
Oh,
it was AI.
it was I don't know why, but it considered me part of the target market. I was getting those ads for a fair bit there. Happy to say I did not succumb to it.
Well, it gives me an idea. Our next podcast guest is Andrew Huberman and Joe Rogan at the same time.
Yeah, how cold plunging and stoicism helps you balance multiple girlfriends.
Gross. Yeah.